Well, good afternoon, friends. Mark Holmes here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Jobu Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. You know, we're in the lull between the quiet spot before the storm of the draft starts in a little over 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Thursday, as a matter of fact. And it's going to get crazy as we go through and we start, getting happy about finally getting some new shiny pieces and start putting together the team. And in fact, actually in a week, next week, the team will actually start getting together on the 18th and actually start having OTAs and workouts. So this is going to be great because we are not that far away from the football season. I have to go ahead and say and give credit to where credit's due because, of course, da-da-dunt, da-da-dunt.
Damn, Gina.
Gina shared with me yesterday this piece right up here. This piece, which was a ranking from Nick Adams. He's got quite a lot of followers and stuff, and he's gone through and he's ranked his quarterbacks in order of, how good they are. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Derek Carr, Pat Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Carson Wentz. And, I'm sitting there like, okay, so he doesn't have Dak Prescott in the top 10. And, of course, we've heard about Carson Wentz. When we've listened to Colin Cowherd, who has given his predictions for the season.
In the NFC, I'll throw it out. Listen, do we like anybody? Dallas is not the same team today. So even with their weapons last year, they disappointed you because of Mike McCarthy. Well, he didn't go anywhere. Carson Wentz, I think, adds wins. Remember, Washington lost a lot of one-possession games, and they were really bad at quarterback. They'll be way better at quarterback. And I think Dallas, Philly, and the Giants are non-playoff teams.
So, generally speaking, the trend is usually the best quarterback almost always wins in a division. I mean, you can look and say, last year Dak was definitely the best quarterback in our division. You could look at the NFC South and say Tom Brady was the best quarterback in that division. You could look at the NFC North and say that Aaron Rodgers was truly the best quarterback in that division. You had a bunch of good quarterbacks. Russell Wilson was injured. That would be maybe the exception that I think Russell Wilson is better than Matthew Stafford, but Matthew Stafford had a much better team around him. But typically saying the best quarterback usually wins in the division. If you don't have a great quarterback, then you're not going to win. And you've heard the doom and gloom on the Dallas Cowboys and things. In fact, I remember seeing this morning in Bleacher Report an article saying that Dak Prescott, needs to be more consistent. Well, I would have to agree that every quarterback needs to be more consistent. And I look at Dak and I say, yeah, I want Dak to continue to get better as a quarterback in the NFL. I don't think anybody out there says we don't need you to do any better. I think everybody needs to get better. But there's this whole thing that when you hear an article or see an article like that, you look at it and say, Dak Prescott is handicapped. He's so bad that he has to, improve so much that he is just not that good. He's not like the other quarterbacks. And like that there's this step off when you go from the Aaron Rodgers and the Matthew Staffords and the Joe Burrows, that Dak isn't anywhere near on their level. And that is the perception that you are given and so on. Now, can we go through with a couple of assumptions here? And I'm not saying these things to say it's an excuse. I'm not making an excuse. But we can go through and say Dak came back from a catastrophic injury. Let's be clear here. What happened to that foot? Boom. And I'm not making – and you'll see where I'm going with this in a second. Dak wasn't able to work out at this time last year. He wasn't. He wasn't cleared to actually do OTAs and stuff, right? Dak Prescott's number one target last year, Amari Cooper, couldn't work out all offseason either and was on the PUP list to start training camp. Dak was finally cleared in the middle of the summer, but in training camp strained his shoulder and literally didn't throw for weeks. Dak Prescott strained his calf, right? So you could say, well, if Dak needs to be more consistent, and his other shoulder, he had to have surgery on. You could look and say, well, if he didn't have those multitude of injuries and having to rehab and come back, then, of course, he should have played better. We all play better or work better when we're not injured. You know, when my shoulder is messed up, I don't swing the hammer as well as I normally would when it's not. But even with that, let's just go around the NFL, because I want you to understand, when I see somebody say that Dak Prescott's not a top 10 quarterback, okay, let's go through this. This is the thing I love. I love Pro Football Reference, okay? I use Pro Football Reference all the time because I deal with numbers. And I know what the haters will say is, doesn't pass the eye test. Whatever. You know, you're going to be one of those ones that it doesn't matter what I say. But, you know, the other ones that are making the argument, you can use this stuff, because I deal with facts, numbers, and things like that. You know, when you say the eye test, I can literally go through and we can all be seeing the same car accident, and every one of us sees something totally different. It's just the way it is. You know, perception versus reality are two different things. But if we go through with quarterbacks, okay, let's say quarterback wins, right? Oh, I'm sorry. That's the wrong one. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Let's go with completion percentage. This takes all of this. This is a great thing about this site is if you click on the category, it will put things in order. So if we go through with quarterbacks throwing the football, completion percentage, that means how many times a pass was caught versus how many times it was dropped. Now, this can be a little bit deceiving because you can have a quarterback that's a dink and dunker, okay? You know, you're throwing outlet passes and swing passes and screen passes. Your completion percentage will be higher than if you're challenging and throwing the ball down the field, okay? If you are a team that you are gunslinging and you're throwing deep every other pass, your completion percentage typically will be less. So you have to also look at that with completions percentage with yards per completion, and you can kind of understand. You look at a guy and it's like, oh, he's only averaging 6.5 yards per pass, so yeah, his completion percentage should be higher. But be that as it may, if we look at completion percentage, Joe Burrow is number 1. Kyler Murray is number 2 at 69. Aaron Rodgers at 68.9. And right there, little old Dak Prescott is 68.8. 0.1% less than Aaron Rodgers. Okay. If we go to yardage, Tom Brady number 1 at 5,300 yards. You got Justin Herbert at 5,014. Matthew Stafford 4,806. Pat Mahomes at 4,800. Derek Carr 4,800. Joe Burrow 46. And at 7, Dak Prescott 4,449. So, okay, completion percentage and yardage, he's in the top 7 in both of them. Touchdown passes. Now, keep in mind, this is a guy who left arm was jacked up, had a calf injury for part of the season, shoulder strain, and couldn't, play in preseason. Touchdown passes. Tom Brady with 43, Matthew Stafford with 41, Justin Herbert with 38, and then Pat Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Aaron Rodgers all tied at 37. So that's the 4th most touchdown passes in the NFL last season. So between completion percentage, yards, TDs, all are within the top 7. Touchdown percentage. Okay. Aaron Rodgers, the highest. Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, and there's Dak, 5th. So completion percentage, yardage, TDs, TD percentage. All of them are 7 and higher. Interceptions. Matthew Stafford led the league in interceptions. Dak was all the way down here at 18th, which ends up being, that's 14th with 10. Only 10, yeah, 10. It's a lot better than Zach Wilson, Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo, Tom Brady, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, Mac Jones, Pat Mahomes, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Joe Burrow, Tyler Heineke, Josh Allen, Justin Hubert, Trevor Lawrence, and Matthew Stafford. Interception percentage. We already know he's not in that. Yard per pass, average. Right down here. 10th. Wow. 7.5 yards. So it's not dinking and dunking. Not dinking and dunking. Yards per game. Dak Prescott, 7th. 278 yards. Rating. Third best rating in the NFL. 104. So I'm trying to understand how it is that you can have completion percentage, yards, TDs, TD percentage, yards per catch, and rating all within the top 10, yet you're not a top 10 quarterback. Okay, let's do this. Dak Prescott's statistics, head-to-head, Aaron Rodgers. Everybody, I know what how dare you? How dare you compare Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott? We're going by last year. In a year where people say, Dak Prescott, he's average quarterback. He's average. He's inconsistent. He's not the best one in his division. Okay, let's look at it apples to apples. Aaron Rodgers, they won their division. They lost to the same team we did in the playoffs. Look at that. Completion percentage, within 1/10. Yards, Dak Prescott more. Touchdowns, same number. Rating, Aaron Rodgers got him by 6, and Dak's got a few more interceptions. That is not like a Grand Canyon of space between Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. Just isn't. And having Devontae Adams as the receiver might make you a little bit better. But just saying. How about Dak Prescott? Pat Mahomes. I think it's safe to say that last year Pat Mahomes had better weapons than the Cowboys. I just have to say that. I believe that. Am I wrong? Dak had a higher completion percentage. Actually, this is the advanced stats. Hold on. Let's go up here. Higher completion percentage. Slightly less yards. Same number of TDs. 6 points higher in a rating. How is that? How is that if Dak is a garbage quarterback, that with the weapons that we had, knowing that Amari Cooper missed a couple of games as well as coming back and was not quite there and kind of checked out the second half of the season, that CeeDee Lamb got a concussion, missed some time and so on, had a lot of drops and things. And, of course, Michael Gallup missed half the season with a calf and an ACL injury. You can't look at that and say the Cowboys had so much more talent. But yet here it is, somehow, Dak Prescott and Pat Mahomes. How about Dak Prescott and Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson played 2 less games, but you look at this. Down on the advanced stats. You look at this. Dak Prescott, higher completion percentage. And don't tell me that Russell Wilson didn't have targets because he had DJ Metcalf as well as Tyler Lockett. Okay, don't come in here. Don't come in here and say that one. But yet here it is. Dak Prescott's got 12 more touchdowns, got a higher rating, and more yards per completion. And we can continue to go down the line on these things. Kirk Cousins, who people keep saying, Dak Prescott, he's the black Kirk Cousins, even though I think head-to-head, I think Dak is 8-1 going against Kirk Cousins. And as far as playoffs go, I think they both have one playoff win. I could be wrong with that. And Kirk Cousins did last year have Justin Jefferson to throw for. I know Philly 500, of course, says he didn't want Justin Jefferson because he's ass. But here it is. Dak Prescott, more yards, higher rating, more TDs. Yet they say Kirk Cousins, he's a better quarterback. Should I go on? Yeah, I should. Joe Burrow. Now, Joe Burrow has a higher completion percentage, shout out. But he does have Jamar Chase. Did have about 200 yards more. He did have a higher completion percentage, but he also had a higher interception rate. So you could make the argument that, hey, well, Joe Burrow had the better season, and, of course, he went to the Super Bowl than Dak. But I can't look at that and say it's, Joe Montana versus Geno Smith. Okay? We can't say that. That's not it. That's not it. How about Matthew Stafford? Matthew Stafford had a great season last year, but let's be honest. He's got some hellacious weapons there. And even with the weapons he had with Jefferson and Cooper Kupp and stuff, and I forgot their tight end, they went out and they got Odell Beckham. So, yeah, he had a lot of touchdown passes, but here it is. Dak had a higher completion percentage. Dak had, let's go through it. Oh, that's advanced stats, sorry. Higher completion percentage. Only 400 yards less. And only 4 TDs less. And the rating, Dak had a higher rating. So you could make the argument that Matthew Stafford, being the Super Bowl champion, had a better season. Statistically, if we're talking about a guy who was injured throughout most of the season, didn't have much of a running game, the second half that we say is inconsistent, and he's head-to-head with this guy. Oh, by the way, Matthew Stafford did have 17 interceptions to Dak's 10 and had more pick sixes than anyone. And finally, we'll end this video off with this one. I'm sure most of the Dak Prescott haters have already left, but for Colin Cowherd to say that Carson Wentz is the better quarterback, I don't know how you look and see this. Dak was 6.5 points higher in a completion percentage. Dak Prescott, 10 more touchdowns. He did have 3 more interceptions than Carson Wentz, but you look at the rating, he's 10 points higher. How can you make the argument that Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott? I just don't understand this. And this is where going back to what
Damn, Gina.
shared with me is, how can you honestly say that Dak Prescott is not a top 10 quarterback? It's not even rational. If you're in the top 10 in every category, except for interceptions, then clearly you have to be in the top 10. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the NFL, but I tell you what, if he is healthy, like we all believe and have seen, and he gets a whole offseason to work with everybody, you're going to see an even better guy next year. If we're saying that the guy who ended up getting more touchdown passes than any quarterback in the history of the Dallas Cowboys in the first year, a guy who within 3 years will own every Dallas Cowboys record, that this was an off year, well, damn, I can't wait to see it when it's an on year. And with that being said, we're going to roll up out of here, and I'm going to go back up to the workshop because I got more work to do. And I will hopefully see you guys tonight.
You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.